All right, well, step number one, obviously, remove your shit from the wall. Step number two, we're gonna remove the deck. Step number three, we're gonna remove this ribbon cable from the control deck so that we can pull that off and separate everything. We're gonna remove this where it says power, and we're gonna replace it with a bridge. The supplied bridge is now installed into the power switch. Next step, take your control panel and reinstall it back into the cabinet. Easy peasy, nice and greasy. Everything's put back together. Now we move on to the next step. Next step, remove the backboard to the unit. Next, we're going to take this dangling original power cord that came with the cabinet, and we're going to hook up this harness piece to it right here. So now you should have that connected to the power plus your harness. Now for the next step, be it that this is a Partycade, we got to remove this whole back where the holes for the hooks are, as well as the marquee. And there's going to be 1, 2, 3 screws on each side. So let's get that removed. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with taking your Partycade apart, I would highly recommend removing this board here, as well as the screws on just one side, because you have to pull this one side away because the marquee setup that they have here is actually in there. Kind of look at it like a wooden peg that's in the wood. So it's kind of stuck in there, and you need to pull the sides away to remove the marquee. Just so you know how the marquee functions, you know, it's a marquee just like any other arcade one-up. And this acts like the top deck that gets slid into place. So this is a piece we're gonna hold on to for right now, because we might put that back in there. No, I think we will. But yeah, save the top board. You can get rid of the marquee at this point in time. And so this is the board with the hooks, and this is what it looks like without any marquee in there at all. Now we're gonna put Angel's marquee in there. Now that we have the marquee just kind of resting in place and that little board that came with the unit sitting back on top here, next we're going to figure out where we want to install the LED light system. So when installing the light, I mean, there's only two places really you can put this. You can put this right here on top so the light is facing out, or you can put it on this strip here on the bottom. Now the reason why I chose up here, the furthest back of this little board, is because it's the furthest away, and it's not going to be a light so much pressing up against, you know, like if I were to have put the light right here, it would have been closer to this and not really giving off and projecting light evenly. So I mean, this is a much smaller space you're working with than a traditional floorcade. So, you know, these are things to keep in mind. So next we're going to reinstall the hook holes, and we're going to probably just put this cord right through the side of one of those hook holes, as there's really going to be no space left to put this cable anywhere else. All right, now that we have the back on, this is where it gets a little tricky here because there's no way to, you know, hide this. So this cord is going to be pretty much smushed, you know, between the board and everything. But anyways, the next step, what we want to do is take the power cable from the arcade one up. You're going to unplug it from there, and then you're going to hook it up to this in the splitter. So now that we've got all of our components in place, we've hooked up the power to the red splitter here, okay? And then we're gonna hook up this Y splitter to here, to the power to the unit. One of these is gonna go in the back for the power, and this other one is gonna go up here to the light. So this is what your unit's gonna look like from the back with everything connected. So we now have the power connected, we have the light connected. All right, the only thing left to do is put this bad boy back together and plug it in and see if all this crazy shit works here. Okay, here we go. Everything is put back together. The unit is securely mounted to this wall. It is not going anywhere. We're gonna turn the power on and rock and roll. Here we go. Ooh, pretty. All right, now the machine turns on, so that means I did everything correctly and everything's hooked back up. You know, make sure when you're hooking up your wires, especially when you remove the control deck from here, the wires are exposed, unlike the full-size machines. So just be super extra, super duper careful that you're not pinching the wires in anything down here, because Arcade 1-Up it contains a lot of fragile wires that, you know, one wrong tug or one wrong pull, you're ripping shit out, man. And then make sure that you hook up the screen, the monitor back to the control, so that when you flip the power on, everything's working. But I mean, I really, really like this. Now, honest opinion time, folks. This is what I think. As far as hooking everything up, to me, because I'm not a very tech-savvy person, like to some of you, you may be like, oh, that's super duper fucking easy. And to me, I don't like messing with wires and shit like that, because with my dumb luck, I'm the kind of person that, oops, there goes a pin and there goes the whole machine, right? So if I'm able to do this, you could probably do it too with a fair amount of ease. But it was a little bit trickier because, unlike the full-size arcades, there's not a lot of space to work with inside the cabinet. I mean, the back of the monitor is just an inch and a half, maybe, flush from the backboard of this cabinet. So, you know, you have wires, you know, that are going through and they're kind of pushed up and compacted in there. And like I said, you know, unlike the full-size arcade, because there's a lack of space, you know, I have a wire that's hanging out of one of the hook holes in the back, and I wasn't able to put one screw in the backboard. However, the good news is that it doesn't shift the arcade off of the wall in any way, shape, or form. I don't notice a difference as far as, oh, it's coming off the wall too far on one side. It's actually pretty flush, evenly flush on both sides. So the way that I did it, it wound up working to my good benefit. If I had to say two negative things about this, because I'm always honest and I never mean to bash or talk shit or anything about anybody, in comparison to the original design of the Marquee, this image is actually squished just a little bit. Let me see if I can get close up here. So you can kind of tell that Angel's design is a little bit squished, but there's kind of a reason for it. And being a graphic designer for more than 25 years of my life, I kind of understand. You know, you want to fill the whole Marquee space so it looks really nice. Angel gave me two options. I can either have this one where the image is just slightly compressed, or if I wanted one that was proper proportion, there would have been a ton of black on each side. And I personally chose, I said, you know what? For $60, that's all that this cost, is $60, flat rate, free shipping, which is, you know, $30 less than what Arcade 1-Up would charge if they came out with one of these things. But I chose to have this image in here, and I'm glad I did choose this. You know, so there's not a whole lot of black on the Marquee. So everything it illuminates. It's very well balanced. The image that Angel produces is very clean and very sharp and looks very, very professional once it's installed. And you know, again, Arcade 1-Up has not offered any kind of Marquee, Light-Up Marquee replacements for their Partycade specifically, and Partycades have been around since 2019. Now in 2021, the newer models do come with Light-Up Marquees, but these older models did not. So you got to go look on the internet and, you know, find the best price, find the best design of what you personally want. But I'm very, very pleased with what Angel had created here. You know, he supplies all of the wires, everything's plug and play. Again, the illumination is nice and crispy. The picture design is nice and clean. Everything still functions and works, so that is a successful hookup in my book. So thanks again, Angel. Thank you so much for everything. Oh, wait, one more thing I wanted to point out too. There's this wooden bar that comes underneath the Marquee, the original Marquee, that you unscrew, and unfortunately there's really nothing to screw that little board in. So if you were to put this together and you do not add that little wooden board, that underboard back here, you're going to have light that illuminates down, and it's going to like light up your floor and light up your deck. Now, what I did to have that extra support and really shove that in there is I simply removed the marquee, put that little wooden board in there, held everything tightly together so everything is super tight, and then I just put another couple extra screws into the side of the cabinet. Now, maybe that's not the way that you want to go, or maybe you would rather use like glue or something like that, but this underboard is so tight in there, it's not going anywhere, and it prevents the light from leaking down and hitting the floor and hitting the dash. So that's another little thing that you might want to look into. But other than that, great product. I'm so happy. You know, the Angel's Lightup Marquee really breathed a new, fresh life into this arcade that I've had for over a year. And it went from dull to holy shit, cool, that's badass. I remember I put it together and I went upstairs for a little break, and then I came down, and it's the first unit that I see coming into my basement, and it just pops now. With the light, it absolutely pops. So if you're interested in one of Angel's designs, Light-Up Marquees, he makes them for all the different Arcade 1UP units. You can contact him on Facebook and just look up This Ability Upgrades, look up Angel, and he'll take care of you. You know, he's, as far as customer service goes, a super cool guy to talk to. If you have any issues with his products, you know, he's more than willing to talk with you about it, or, you know, switch this up for that, and help you work through things that you need to make it work. But, you know, all in all, I think that it took me, you know, definitely less than an hour to put this all together. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for joining me. Until we meet again, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself.